And anybody trying to defend these terrorists who have now been sent off of America.
Oh my God, this gaslighting makes me so mad. I hate this shit so much. Nobody is defending terrorists or terrorism, okay? We are defending due process. And you don't just get to use a wartime order. You don't just get to use a wartime power when we're not at war at all. Who knows how many members of Tren de Aragua are even in the country? There's no way it would be near enough to say that it's a predatory incursion against the United States by Venezuela or by Tren de Aragua. All right, let's get this one rolling.
So given the back and forth with this U.S. District Judge and the administration's use of the Alien Enemies Act, does the president plan to send new and additional flights of Venezuelan gang members now designated as foreign terrorists from the U.S. to El Salvador or elsewhere? Can Americans expect to see those flights sometime soon?
Americans can absolutely expect to see the continuation of the mass deportation campaign that has been successfully led by this president, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, and also our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Since you brought up the judges, I would like to point out that the judges in this country are acting erroneously. We have judges who are acting as partisan activists from the bench. They are trying to dictate policy from the President of the United States. They are trying to...
It never fails that you have to, I have to stop these sorts of videos so fast. We're 48 seconds in. Newsflash, everybody. We're not at war. We're not at war with Venezuela, with El Salvador. Nobody. We're at war with nobody, right? Yet Donald Trump wants to use a wartime contingency, a presidential power that's reserved for wartime. The only times it's ever been used. It's called the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. So again, it's an 18th century law. So that's how old it is. It's been used during the War of 1812. It's been used during World War I and World War II. So those three situations are the only time this has ever been used. And it was used in all honesty to justify some pretty heinous shit. When you look at Japanese internment in the 1940s for during World War II, some vile shit has been done because of the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. So, despite the fact that the only precedent in which this wartime contingency has been used by the president has been in wartime, and the last one being World War II, quite a doozy of a war. There's all sorts of layers to the lies here. It's just insanity. They're trying to say that because it's a presidential power that the court can't step in and question his use of it. Can't rule upon his use of this law, when there are multiple layers of things that are wrong with this, like I said. So first off being, can he even declare a wartime power when we're not, in fact, experiencing wartime? Declaring war is an act of Congress, right? And Congress has not declared war on Venezuela, nor have they declared war on Tren de Aragua. So there you go. Legal basis why he can't even use the power to begin with. Secondly, when the judge ordered the temporary restraining order, he said that any planes that are in the air right now need to turn around and land in the United States. And the reason the judge said that is because all the individuals on board these planes did not in fact receive due process. And remember, if you in the United States, if you forego due process for anybody, it means nobody is safe. MAGA needs to know that. Conservatives need to know that. Liberals, lefties, we all need to understand that very plainly. Is that if due process doesn't apply to somebody, it does not apply to us either. Plain and simple, okay? So you have a due process issue, you have which means you have a civil rights issue, because it seems that all they've really done is deport these people based on tattoos, as we saw with that Venezuelan hairstylist who was apparently, I think, kidnapped and or tortured by the Maduro regime in Venezuela. Very scary. So that's why he was here in the United States to begin with, was seeking was because he was an asylee. He's an asylee claim. That's a very legal process. So he's not even illegally here. That's the most insane thing about all this, is that he's not even here illegally. So you have rights issues, you have war powers issues with you have issues with a war power being used when we're not in wartime. There's all sorts of problems. And as far as I've read and heard, when it comes to whether or not a plane over international waters was under the court's jurisdiction, is that the court is who makes these determinations on whether or not that was a jurisdictional territory for the judge. So this judge said, because there could very well be individuals on board these flights, and because they have not landed in the destination country, I'm ordering these to be turned around, which, as we've seen pretty clear, they ignored the verbal order because, according to them, they didn't have to. So we'll keep going. But I mean, she's going to lie so much. She's going to lie so much.
Clearly slow walk this administration's agenda, and it's unacceptable. As the president said last night, we will continue to comply with these court orders. We will continue to fight these battles in courts, but it's incredibly apparent that there is a concerted effort by the far left to judge shop, to pick judges who are clearly acting as partisan activists from the bench in an attempt to derail.
Well, karma's a bitch, isn't it? R.E. Judge Kaczmarek in Texas, who was a federal district judge who would issue who would issue national injunctions when they would judge shop for them. So remember, the Republicans have done it too.
Derail this president's agenda. We will not allow that to happen. And not only are they usurping the will of the president and the chief executive of our country, but they are undermining the will of the American public, tens of millions of Americans who duly elected this president to implement the policies that are coming out of this White House.
And then one more question. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said yesterday that he was united with Democrats in working against Americans who, quote, their attitude is, I made my money all by myself. How dare your government take my money from me? Or I built my company with my bare hands. How dare your government tell me how to treat my customers? What is the president's response to this, given his upcoming tax agenda and need to work on Capitol Hill?
Well, we certainly hope that Democrats all of a sudden are for more money in the pockets of the American public. The president has made it incredibly clear that he is committed to tax cuts. He is committed to passing a big reconciliation package later this year, ending no taxes on tips, taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security for our hardworking seniors. And we encourage.
By the way, no taxes on tips and whatnot. There's a number of these things that Republicans have not even got written into their reconciliation bill, as far as I've heard. So we'll see if they even do them. They're probably just, I mean, there's a number of these things that they're going to be lying about anyway. It is a new Trump administration. Lies are kind of the standard for Trump.
Everybody on Capitol Hill to support that when it comes to the finish line, especially Democrats who clearly need a boost from the American public right now. Their approvals are at an all-time record low. Thanks for being with us, Katie, about that.
There's a lot to suggest, by the way, that the reason Democrats' approvals are not looking so great is because they have historically, and up until recently, most of the party has not been a party of fighters. They haven't been fighting the Trump agenda. So that's why their approval is so low. So you want to chalk that up to you want to make that seem like Democrats are bad just because Democrats are bad? Okay, sure, great. Do that. Trump's best approval rating from NBC is only 47%. Trump has had his best approval rating from NBC polling ever, and it's 47%, still less than half the country. So write home about that.
Jackie.
Thanks, Karen. What options does the president have to, he says he's going to follow court orders. He wouldn't defy a court order, but he's raised these concerns about these judges acting in such a partisan way. What option does he have to ensure that his agenda continues to move forward while this is ongoing and the judges appear to be trying to just block and delay and impede?
Well, you're right. They are trying to block, delay, and impede. This is lawfare. The president is no stranger to it. He faced it in his campaign. And this is a continuation of the lawfare that President Trump faced as a candidate, and he's now unfortunately facing as a president. Clearly, these partisan activists in the judicial branch didn't get the memo on November 5th when the American people overwhelmingly re-elected this president.
1.5%. 1.5% popular vote margin. 1.5% popular vote margin is not overwhelming. Joe Biden won by 4.5%. I rest my case.
To continue with mass deportations. So White House counsel and the Department of Justice are working on this. They're appealing these cases, and we will continue to use the full weight of the White House counsel's office and the president's team of lawyers to fight this in court, because we know we will win, even if we have to go all the way to the Supreme Court.
One more on TDA. Andy McCarthy said in an interview with Hugh Hewitt, he certainly agrees with what the president is trying to do with the Alien Enemies Act, but he's not sure that the law is completely on his side. He cites some previous Supreme Court rulings dealing with enemy combatants in wartime, says that even they have a challenge or a right to challenge their detention in court. He raised concern also that while TDA has been designated as a terrorist organization, these individuals hadn't been prosecuted for terrorism. So my question is, will the president ask Congress potentially to declare war on these cartels for the invasion that he's talked about, so that
This is a really good question. She's not going to answer this. There's no way she's going to give a straight answer to this. She's going to say something like, well, of course we're at war. They're invading our country. And this is a campaign promise of Donald Trump that he was going to deport everybody. You bitch. He's going to deport everybody.
he's on stronger legal footing?
Well, we absolutely disagree with the legal opinion of the individual that you mentioned. We would not have moved forward with this if we didn't believe the president. This was within the president's executive authority to continue with this mass deportation effort under the authority provided to him under the Alien Enemies Act. And when you read the act, as I did last time at the podium, a predatory incursion is absolutely what has happened with Tren de Aragua. They have been sent here by the hostile Maduro regime in Venezuela, and the president immediately upon taking office designated TDA as a foreign terrorist organization. And under this act, it is within the president's authority to deport these terrorists. And anybody trying to defend these terrorists who have now been sent off of America.
Oh my God, this gaslighting makes me so f***ing mad. I hate this shit so much. Nobody is defending terrorists or terrorism, okay? We are defending due process. And you don't just get to use a wartime order. You don't just get to use a wartime power when we're not at war at all. Who knows how many members of Tren de Aragua are even in the country? There's no way it would be near enough to say that it's a predatory incursion against the United States by Venezuela or by Tren de Aragua. Okay, there's just no way. And even if there was, they need, legally speaking, you need to go through the process to do it. Nobody's above the law. Remember, that's the way the USA is supposed to work.
American soil should talk to the families of the individuals who these heinous monsters have killed and have raped. If you talk to those families, they are so heartened by the president's decision to take tough action and to use his executive authority, something that no other president has been willing to do, because President Trump does what he says he's going to do, and he is deporting these foreign terrorists from American soil to secure our homeland, and he's within his rights to do that.
Very quickly,
Jennifer.
Very quickly on Tesla, there's
and that, again, this goes to something we mentioned earlier. Then why are there pretty obvious people who were deported as a part of this who were not part of the Tren de Aragua gang? Why would you not go through and do a proper vetting process to make sure that you were going to deport actual members of the Tren de Aragua gang and not deport other people? It's because, everybody, the cruelty is the point. The cruelty is the point. They want you to be afraid that you could be deported for any goddamn reason whatsoever, for having the wrong tattoo, for having the wrong skin color. That's what they want you to think, everybody. And they are using innocent pawns to do this. They're using innocent people to get this point across to the American people. And this is why, instead of being afraid and cowering, we need to fight harder and fight now.
There's a website that's trying to dox Tesla owners across the country and saying they're only going to take down personal information when people show that they've sold their cars. What's the administration going to do about that?
I haven't seen that website, but we certainly think it's despicable, the violence that has taken place against Tesla, the company.
I'm just going to go on the record and say you shouldn't be doing that. People who just own Teslas they're not the bad guy here, okay? Even people who bought Cybertrucks, while that is probably the stupidest purchasing decision, and you're probably going to get your shit vandalized at some point, there is no reason we need to be just doxing or vandalizing innocent people's property, okay? Even if they voted for Trump, even if they beat off to Elon every single day, it doesn't matter. They're not the enemy. They're not the enemy. Don't go after Tesla owners. Please, for the love of God, don't make the Democrats and the left in general look bad. You nimrods, don't do this, please. Don't go throw Molotov cocktails in Tesla dealerships. Don't get violent with Tesla owners. Don't vandalize their property. You are giving them so much more ammo than they ever need right now. And that it helps further distract from the real issues, which is what Elon is doing as a part of Doge.
Its employees and also just Americans who have chosen to drive an electric vehicle. Many of them are Democrats, by the way. Democrats were big supporters of Tesla and of electric vehicles until Elon Musk decided to vote for Donald Trump. So we would like
the left was starting to ditch Elon long before that. It was when he started doing his union busting bullshit. It was when he started talking to Vladimir Putin in 2022. She's full of shit.
Democrats to also come out and condemn this heinous violence that we have seen. And I believe the Attorney General has said she's investigating these incidents as acts of domestic terrorism.
So President Trump standing firm on his promise to get migrant gang members out of our country despite pushback from a U.S. district judge.
He actually said we shouldn't be able to take criminals, killers, murderers, horrible, the worst people, gang members, gang leaders, that we shouldn't be allowed to take them out of our country. Well, that's a presidential job. That's not for a local judge to be making that determination.
So the administration has until noon today to respond to the judge's questions on the deportation flights of the alleged members of Trinidad and Agua, the Venezuelan gang. They are now in El Salvador. TDA is one of the gangs and cartels the State Department designated as foreign terrorist organizations. Here to discuss National Security Advisor Colonel Michael Waltz. Colonel, thanks so much for joining the program.
Good to be with you.
So tell me, I don't know if a lot of Americans realize, but as a former Green Beret, you know this. We've targeted these cartels before. The president really doesn't need to declare war to go after them, right?
No, that's right. And Lawrence, let's go back in time a bit. I can remember when people were trying to arrest Osama bin Laden and were trying to arrest Al-Qaeda and debating whether they had the evidentiary standards to get them through due process here in the United States, which is a very high bar.
That's so different. That is so different. You're talking about the guy who coordinated 9/11, the guy who killed via 9/11 thousands of Americans in one fell swoop on a single day. The single biggest foreign terrorist attack on our nation's soil. Okay, I agree. I'm less concerned about due process for a guy like that, especially when he comes out and takes credit for it like he did. So there's so many differences here why this is not apples to apples at all. This isn't even apples to oranges. This is like apples to like dirt. It's not even close to the same goddamn thing. It's so weird. And oh my God, like they're the only reason these claims make any sense in the first place, if you take him at his word, then what Mike Waltz here is literally saying is, oh, well, we know for a fact that every single one of these people are Tren de Aragua members. And that just, again, that has been so easily proven false already. We already know that at least like two of these guys, I think, were either about to achieve or were going for permanent legal status in the United States, and had no proximity to Tren de Aragua whatsoever. Some of them may have been Venezuelan, but like there's no evidence that these guys were properly vetted to begin with. So he's just gonna go on here and say, oh yeah, they're all Tren de Aragua, which is like, again, you have to literally just take his word without verifying that at all in order to believe their argument is true. And in order to stand by that argument, how could you stand by this argument knowing that what he's saying is likely a lie? It's a big lie.
We need to perhaps start thinking about these terrorists like what they are, which is terrorists. Unfortunately, we had 9/11 to begin thinking about Al-Qaeda like the terrorists that they are. Tren de Aragua has been labeled a terrorist organization. They are no different than ISIS. They maim, kill, torture, create mayhem and chaos on our streets in the United States.
Sure they're
and
bad
I think
people.
if you had some of those,
I'm sure they're bad people.
tattooed, shaved head men labeled ISIS, then we wouldn't even be having this debate. So this is about a wholesale shift on what a terrorist is and how they should be treated in the United States, how they should be treated when they're attacking our soil and when they're violating our sovereignty and when they're terrorizing our citizens. And of course, that is going to present an Article 2, Article 3 in the Constitution conflict. But really, that's what this is. And this is squarely under the commander-in-chief's authority to keep Americans safe. And I'm telling you, that's how most Americans see it.
So, Colonel, you would never give those operation details to a judge if you were going after Osama bin Laden. They're obviously trying to get you to give that information over about these terrorists. Now, I want to move on to the big...
Oh my God, it's such a stupid timeline. It's so stupid. Oh my word. This is ignorant, people. I can't even, I don't even know if I can respond to that right now. We'll see if they're going to keep lying. Let's just keep letting them lie.
Call with Putin yesterday. Apparently it was a 90-minute conversations. There's some reports out there that said that he kept the president waiting. I don't think that's true based on my sources. What can you tell us? Completely
false, garbage, fake news. This is between two heads of state, a major call. There's, sometimes some technical difficulties. The call started on time, and it lasted for a very long time. And both presidents covered a lot of ground, from the future of bilateral relationships, keeping, stabilizing the region, to solving this problem in Ukraine, ending.
This is how, okay, I got to go back for a sec, because this is how you can kind of clock him on the lie here. It's because, okay. And maybe I can find an example from a Democratic president where maybe they were super defensive about something like this. In my experience, I think that if a foreign dignitary, if some foreign leader had kept, say, President Biden or kept President Obama waiting on the phone for a little while, I don't think that whoever was in the cabinet was questioned by Fox News or whomever later that day. I don't think they would be as defensive. I think they would be like, oh, well, yeah, we didn't start the call right when we wanted to, but we went on to talk about lists, which, like, Mike Waltz here kind of did that. But to go so far as to be, what did he say here?
Stopping the killing. Presidents covered a major call.
Said that he kept the president waiting.
Yeah,
I don't think that's true based on my sources. What can you tell us?
Completely false, garbage, fake news.
Completely false, garbage, fake news. And then
this is between two heads of state, a major call. There's sometimes some technical difficulties. The call started on time, and it lasted for a very long time.
Sometimes there's technical so it sounds to me like he might have been getting ready to throw out the statement. I don't know. He might have been getting ready to say, like, yeah, maybe it was a few minutes late, but I think he knows that would piss this guy off because it pissed off his boyfriend here. Let's just be real. So Mike Waltz probably knows that he had to stick to the lie that the call started on time. From what I've heard this call started almost 40 minutes late. We can fact check that here in a moment. Actually, I think I will. I heard that this call started like almost 40 minutes late and that they didn't get to talk about call. they didn't really get much talked about. And they haven't released a transcript of the call, mind you. They released a readout, I think. Okay. The White House said, right, so again, what they're saying may not always be correct, but let's see. The White House said that a lengthy phone call between Trump and Putin had achieved movement to peace. Whatever the that means. Trump took a shit while on the call. Is that what that means? But while Tuesday's call ended with Putin and Trump agreeing on an immediate pause on strikes against energy infrastructure, the Kremlin makes clear that Russia has many additional demands before it will consider a broader ceasefire. Much of the so energy is all they've seemed to agree on, which is not much. Despite, again, this Trump promised, I think, like eight or more times on the campaign trail that he would either have this solved in 24 hours or in less than 24 hours. So this was a pretty big campaign promise of his, and it's just blowing up in his face. Much of the significantly shorter White House statement, meanwhile, looks ahead to Trump's hopes of improved relations with Russia. Read the statements released by the White House and Kremlin giving their versions of what Trump and Putin discussed. Here's what the White House said. Today, President Trump and Putin spoke about the need for peace and a ceasefire in the Ukraine war. Both leaders agreed to this conflict needs to end with a lasting peace. They also stressed the need for improved bilateral relations between the United States and Russia. The blood and treasure that both Ukraine and Russia have been spending in this war would be better spent on the needs of their people. This conflict should have never started. This is Trump's, this is Trump getting in there and being like, listen, it started because Biden's a fool. Biden's a moron. He didn't know what he was doing. This war should have never happened, but it happened under Biden. This conflict should have never started and should have been ended long ago with sincere and good faith peace efforts. The leaders agreed that the movement to peace would begin with an energy and infrastructure ceasefire, as well as technical negotiations on implementation of maritime ceasefire in the Black Sea, full ceasefire and permanent peace. These negotiations will begin immediately in the Middle East. The leaders spoke broadly about the Middle East as a region of potential cooperation to prevent future conflicts. They further discussed the need to stop proliferation of strategic weapons that will engage with others to ensure the broadest possible application. The two leaders shared the view that Iran should never be in a position to destroy Israel. Wow, okay. The two leaders agreed that a future with an improved bilateral relationship between the United States and Russia has huge upside. This includes enormous economic deals and geopolitical stability when peace has been achieved. So, long story short, they said nothing. They said nothing. They said Iran bad, Israel good. They said we need peace now. Without again being like, hey, yeah, Putin, maybe you stop the invasion, bro. So there's no, under Trump, there's no hard stance against Putin. And you guys want to like twist yourselves into knots on the conservative and the MAGA side. You guys want to twist yourselves into knots by trying to say that what is probably the weakest stance we could ever take for an ally is somehow strength. You guys are delusional, man. Here's what the Kremlin said. The leaders continued a detailed and frank exchange of views on the situation around Ukraine. Vladimir Putin expressed gratitude to Trump for his desire to help achieve the noble goal of ending hostilities and human losses. Having confirmed his fundamental commitment to a peaceful resolution of the conflict, the Russian president declared his readiness to thoroughly work out possible ways to resolve the conflict together with his American partners, which should be comprehensive, sustainable, and long-term. And of course, take into account the absolute need to eliminate the root causes of the crisis and ensure Russia's legitimate interests in the field of security. In the context of the U.S. president's initiative to introduce a 30-day ceasefire, the Russian side outlined a number of significant points regarding ensuring effective control over a possible ceasefire along the entire line of contact, the necessity to stop the forced mobilization of Ukraine in the rearmament of the Ukrainian armed forces. Serious risks associated with Kiev's regime Kiev regime's inability to respect agreements were also noted, given that it had repeatedly sabotaged and violated agreements that have been reached. Wow, that's super specific. I think Russia, I believe, has violated like 11 different ceasefire agreements worldwide, by the way, since Putin. I'll have to look that up too at some point. Attention was drawn to the barbaric terrorist crimes committed by the Ukrainian fighters, blah, blah, blah. This is propaganda. It was emphasized, key resolution, cessation, foreign military aid. Yeah, so basically Putin doesn't want any more U.S. aid, and I think even foreign military aid. He wants to deplete. This is crazy. He just wants to cut off a bunch of military aid to Ukraine, like as if you're not going to do this again, dude. In connection with Trump's recent appeal to spare the lives of Ukrainian servicemen surrounded in the Kursk region. So yeah, this whole like surrounded thing, that's interesting. I didn't hear any other reporting on that. That could be true though. It sounds like it might be. Putin confirmed that the Russian side is ready to be guided by humanitarian considerations, and in the event of their surrender, guarantees the lives and decent treatment of the Ukrainian armed forces soldiers in accordance with Russian laws and the norms of international law. During the conversation, Trump put forward a proposal for the parties to the conflict. Trump put forward a proposal for the parties to the conflict to mutually refrain from attacks on energy infrastructure facilities for 30 days. Putin responded positively to this initiative and immediately gave the Russian military the appropriate command. The Russian president also responded constructively by Trump's idea of implementing a well-known initiative concerning the safety of navigation in the Black Sea. It was agreed to begin negotiations to further work out specific details of such an agreement. Vladimir Putin informed that on March 19th, a prisoner exchange will be carried out between the Russian and Ukrainian sides, 175 for 175 in terms of the number of people. In addition, as a gesture of goodwill, 23 seriously wounded Ukrainian servicemen who are undergoing treatment in Russian medical institutions will be handed over. Leaders confirmed their intention to continue bilateral efforts to achieve a Ukrainian settlement, including good grief, I can't read. The leaders confirmed their intention to continue bilateral efforts to achieve a Ukrainian settlement, including taking into account the above-mentioned proposals of the U.S. president. For this purpose, Russian and American expert groups are being created. Putin and Trump also touched on other issues in the international agenda, including the situation in the Middle East and the Red Sea. Joint efforts will be made to stabilize the situation in crisis areas, establish cooperation on nuclear non-proliferation and global security. This, in turn, will contribute to improving the overall atmosphere of Russian-American relations. One of the positive examples is the vote made in solidarity in the UN on the resolution regarding the Ukrainian conflict. Mutual interest is normalizing bilateral relations was expressed in light of the special responsibility of Russia and the United States for ensuring security and stability in the world. In this context, a wide range of areas in which our countries could establish interaction was considered. A number of ideas were discussed that are moving toward the development of mutually beneficial cooperation in the economy and energy sector. And oh yeah, they decided to coordinate a hockey game, apparently. Sweet. I did see Newsweek. Okay. Russian president. So this is according to Newsweek, which is apparently right-leaning. They're not always the most factual, but well, let's take a look. Russian President Vladimir Putin can be seen smiling and laughing when he's told that he's running late for his highly anticipated that he's running late for his highly anticipated call with President Trump in a video circulating on X. Oh no. Newsweek reached out to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation for comment via email. The relationship between Trump and Putin has often been a focal point for global politics, blah, blah, blah.
По заявлениям Дмитрия Сергеевича Пескова, у вас разговор должен до 18 часов состояться с Дональдом Трампом. Не знаю, насколько он... Работа такая.
So this might have been happening. Oh, I don't know, man. The two leaders are supposed to have met already, but Putin is still at some conference when Putin was reminded of meeting. Okay, this could be... Wonder if this has any community notes. Can I open it up here?
From не знаю,
There's
насколько
no
он,
community notes. I don't know. No, there's no community notes. It's possible.
ну,
Damn, dude. That's brutal. That is brutal right
не
there.
знаю, сейчас надо посмотреть, что на эту фразу скажет.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like the only people who are saying that that Putin didn't keep Trump waiting. The only people saying that are it's Trump. It's Trump and his cabinet that are saying that. Putin. It sounds like the Kremlin didn't even comment on it. Wow, that's astonishing. So Putin might have kept Trump waiting an hour for the call. And you see this guy gets so that, and that's how what did I say? It seems like such a lie because this guy gets so defensive about it that it like screams how obvious of a lie it is. That's crazy. I wanted to watch the bit on the judge and the whole wartime, what do they call that? The alien enemies deportations. Wanted to watch that bit, didn't realize that this was that was a shorter portion of this video. I didn't intend to watch the Putin Ukraine thing, but like that's that I just felt the need to fact check that bit too. So if you came by and watched this video, thank you. Please, a lot of you who watched are not subscribed, so please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Definitely click the like. That way, you know, you help boost my videos. I would really like to see if we can't get more people watching, more people getting good factual information and try to get the most realistic analysis of things that we can. So yeah, if you are here, appreciate you. Love you. We'll see you guys next week.